Afterburner 2. So I have very limited experience of Afterburner. I think it was on a collection that I at some point bought, maybe like an arcade games collection or some such, of Sega. Arcade Flight Simulator. The one fact about it, I'll definitely put it on easy, the one fact about it that is relevant to me is that it was developed by Yu Suzuki, who made my favourite game of all time, Shenmue, and Shenmue 2. We won't really mention Shenmue 3, although my name is in the credits. Right, here we go. Ooh. So the other thing I remember about this is that the arcade cabinet like moved while you were in it, like a cockpit. So as you moved right or left, you know, it swayed that way. It's quite fun, but basic. Okay, so it's kind of like Outrun. The background colours and environment seem to change as just based on how far you progress rather than anything else, so just like into the distance. I'm guessing that's based on the bar at the bottom. So I've got rockets to fire, and the machine gun, I'm not actually pressing the button for that, it's doing it on its own, so constantly shooting. I imagine this was quite impressive at the time it came out, so it was 1987 in arcades, oh dear. And then 1990 this version came out on the Mega Drive. You know, so we are talking about a 30-year-old game here. Okay, I don't know what that thing was that just came down and reloaded my weapons. Some kind of Independence Day mega ship. It is quite a basic game. I'm assuming that this is, oh dear, basic and also quite difficult. One hit and you're dead. It feels like that's the main thing around the game. You just got to avoid the rockets coming towards you. I think that's more important than any other aspect of it. I think it's more of just a high score game, see how far you can get. You can tell it was built for the arcades, you know, quick sort of £1 go and then move on to something else. The scrolling reminds me of Space Harrier, which we'll come to. I will continue. Because I think Space Harrier was on the Mega Drive, might have been Space Harrier 2. But it's very similar, but obviously a plane rather than just a floating guy. But the gameplay is very similar. Space Harrier as well, of course, a Yu Suzuki game, so bit of crossover there. I imagine they use some of the same technology. In my mind, Space Harrier stands out as a better game, and I imagine it probably holds up a little bit better. Oh dear, we're going down again. It just seemed more impressive to me. I remember it had some very primitive pseudo 3D effects, whereas this is very much whatever's coming towards you, blocky. I mean, it's of its era. It just doesn't hold up very well in the way some games have already shown themselves to. Aero the Acrobat, for example. But some games just don't quite stand the test of time. I believe this is quite a well-received franchise and quite popular, you know. So I'm probably doing it quite a big disservice in a way, but it has to be remembered. Like I said, it's 30 years old, and time moves on. It'd be interesting. I want to say that they did bring the Afterburner back. I think there may have been a PS3 game. Not saying it was this, like a reimagining maybe. I'd have to look into that, but I vaguely do remember it. But like I say, Afterburner itself, these games have definitely appeared a few times on various Sega compilations that there have been over the years. And I think it's even been on some handheld systems as well, again on compilations. But like I said, the gameplay is pretty mindless. And I imagine that's why it seems there's a healthier dose of continues. I bet it's quite a difficult game to finish. Bearing in mind as well, I did put this on easy. Yu Suzuki, of course, as I say, did go on to make Shenmue and Shenmue 2 on the Sega Dreamcast, and then Shenmue 3 on the PlayStation 4. I'd love to work my way through all the Sega consoles and get to the Dreamcast, but you'd best be ready for some pretty epic Let's Play videos if it's Shenmue, because they will not be 10 to 15 minutes, more like 10 to 15 hours. So I don't know if the bar at the bottom next to where it says speed medium is the sort of distance that I've gone, or what. No, because that's just depleted, as I've got game over, in fact. Oh dear. Well, I like an old school high score table, so I will of course enter my name for posterity. Sega Mega Drive 16-bit speed visual. I like the previous incumbents on the high score table. Luke SDG Social Distant Gamer. So let's just have a quick look on the options. Let's just put it on hard for argument's sake, because if that was easy, I'm really curious how the difference is. Music Afterburner. See what the difference is. I'm guessing this is maybe the music of the first game or something like that. Okay. So I don't know if there is any difference, or if it's simply that you've got less lives, because it doesn't feel any different so far. Yeah, it really is a very... before I say this, I have to clarify, I am reviewing from a modern perspective. I'm not saying that this was not a fantastic game 30 years ago. We're on about how it stands up to pick and play now. You know, no judgments on how it was at release or its legacy or anything like that. Just how does this feel to play right now? And the answer with this, very average. You know, it's not a game I'll be returning to. Solidly middle of the road. There's a bit of fun to be had, seeing how far you can get. It's got that outrun style stickiness of seeing what stage you could get to by just going further and further, but there's just not a lot to it. It'd been nice if there maybe was some kind of boss battle. There may well be as well. I might have just not reached it. I did get to the 7th stage on the first run on easy though, which seems relatively far. Might be wrong. But yeah, I think boss battles, maybe a bit more variation in how you control the plane. But we won't continue. I was just curious to see if hard was any different. I have to be honest, I don't think it was. It just seemed like you died quicker due to lack of lives. So I'll state my review in the score table by putting it's not. This isn't gonna fit. Well, I was going to say it's not great. Oh well. There we go. Afterburner 2. Solidly average 30-year-old shooter. Up next, Disney's Aladdin.